Winning the future. That was the theme of President Obama's State of the Union address tonight. That's how he summed up the challenges facing the country and his plans to meet them. It is a tenuous moment for President Obama, a moment of drama and opportunity in the wake of the Tucson shootings that seemed to sober up the political classes somewhat. But it's also a crossroads in his presidency, and the president faces challenges of his own. Tonight, we take a look at what he said and how he did. It was different this time. You could see the shift in attitudes here in Washington in the House chamber itself. Dozens of Democrats and Republicans crossing the aisle to sit together. And so many wearing black and white ribbons, black for mourning, white for peace.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States!
Hovering over President Obama's speech tonight was an unmistakable spirit, a newfound sense of what almost seemed like responsibility and determination. Call it the spirit of Tucson. You heard it from the president himself as he summoned the Congress and the country to work on the nation's problems by transcending the bitter partisan differences that have so poisoned the debate.
Tucson reminded us that no matter who we are or where we come from, each of us is a part of something greater, something more consequential than party or political preference.
Perhaps the most eloquent statement, the empty seat, a sign of solidarity with Representative Gabrielle Giffords as she struggles to recover from a gunshot wound in a hospital room in Houston.
What comes of this moment is up to us. What comes of this moment will be determined not by whether we can sit together tonight, but whether we can work together tomorrow.
The heart of President Obama's speech was an effort to turn this moment to his advantage, to seize the political initiative as he confronts a new Congress reshaped by the Republican triumph in November. And in a neat rhetorical trick, he began by calling on Congress to put politics aside.
At stake right now is not who wins the next election. After all, we just had an election. At stake is whether new jobs and industries take root in this country or somewhere else.
And that's where the president headed, to the overwhelming number one issue in the country, jobs.
The unemployment rate rose again, hitting 9.8% in September.
With millions of jobs lost in the recession, with a country still anxious and sour about a tepid recovery, he called for significant new investments, new federal spending on basic scientific research, on clean energy, on education and infrastructure.
We know what it takes to compete for the jobs and industries of our time. We need to out-innovate, out-educate, and out-build the rest of the world.
He called for 1 million electric vehicles on American roads in 4 years, 80% of American energy from clean energy sources in 24 years, 100,000 new teachers. And to pay for it, the president targeted the oil companies.
We need to get behind this innovation. And to help pay for it, I'm asking Congress to eliminate the billions in taxpayer dollars we currently give to oil companies. I don't know if you've noticed, but they're doing just fine on their own. So instead of subsidizing yesterday's energy, let's invest in tomorrow's.
He also called for a spending freeze on federal domestic discretionary spending, and he issued a veto threat.
Both parties in Congress should know this. If a bill comes to my desk with earmarks inside, I will veto it. I will veto it.
As the president spoke, the members of Congress seemed a bit more subdued than in other years. Nobody shouted, "You lie," far from it. Maybe their mingling together inhibited them. When the president called for immigration reform,
now I strongly believe that we should take on once and for all the issue of illegal immigration.
the standing ovation gradually and awkwardly spread across the bipartisan seating arrangement. For all the talk and show of bipartisanship, however, this was an ambitious speech from the president.
America's the nation that built the Transcontinental Railroad, brought electricity to rural communities, constructed the interstate highway system. So over the last 2 years, we've begun rebuilding for the 21st century, a project that has meant thousands of good jobs for the hard-hit construction industry. And tonight I'm proposing that we redouble those efforts.
That spirit of Tucson was no match for the partisanship sparked by the debate over health care. With Republicans in the House having already voted to repeal the new health care law, the president defended it while holding out an olive branch.
Now, I have heard rumors that a few of you still have concerns about our new health care law. So let me be the first to say that anything can be improved. If you have ideas about how to improve this law by making care better or more affordable, I am eager to work with you. What I'm not willing to do is go back to the days when insurance companies could deny someone coverage because of a pre-existing condition.
Meanwhile, up in the First Lady's box, the tradition continued. Ordinary Americans spotlighted in the speech to make an emotional point, like Kathy Proctor, who loved it.
One mother of two, a woman named Kathy Proctor, had worked in the furniture industry since she was 18 years old. And she told me she's earning her degree in biotechnology now, at 55 years old. Not just because the furniture jobs are gone, but because she wants to inspire her children to pursue their dreams too. As Kathy said, I hope it tells them to never give up.
It's striking how much this speech charted the change in the country. After a decade of war and talk of war and the sacrifices of war, President Obama spoke of withdrawal from Iraq and Afghanistan and gays in the military.
Our troops come from every corner of this country. They're black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. They are Christian and Hindu, Jewish and Muslim. And yes, we know that some of them are gay. Starting this year, no American will be forbidden from serving the country they love because of who they love.
At the end, President Obama sought again to bridge the partisan divide by appealing to the American dream and its role in his life and the lives of the men behind him, bringing tears once again to the eyes of Speaker John Boehner.
That dream is why I can stand here before you tonight. That dream is why a working class kid from Scranton can sit behind me. That dream is why someone who began by sweeping the floors of his father's Cincinnati bar can preside as Speaker of the House in the greatest nation on earth.
By tradition, there is a response to the State of the Union by the other party. There was more than one response by the Republicans tonight, and therein lies a story. The official response was delivered by Congressman Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, and here's a little of what he had to say.
Whether sold as stimulus or repackaged as investment, their actions show they want a federal government that controls too much, taxes too much, and spends too much in order to do too much. And during the last 2 years, that is exactly what we have gotten, along with record deficits and debt, to the point where the president is now urging Congress to increase the debt limit.
This year, a lot of the energy in the Republican Party comes from the Tea Party movement, and Representative Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota, very unusually, delivered a response, in part on behalf of the Tea Party.
For 2 years, President Obama made promises just like the ones we heard him make this evening. Yet still, we have high unemployment, devalued housing prices, and the cost of gasoline is skyrocketing.